to be just like last weekend, although last weekend I was having a problem with my printer, the Prusa Mini, and it boiled down to like a series of troubleshooting steps. It started when I had tried a different filament, and after having used similar types of filaments, it wasn't, that much of an outlier, I didn't think, but then I kept running into problems and then tried another filament and ran into the same problem. Couldn't figure out what it was. Did everything, changed out the PTFE tube, cleaned things out. I did it like 2 or 3 times to the point where I ran out of extra PTFE tubes. And ultimately I was like, okay, I've got to do something. So I reached out to Astroprinter because he was using MakerDeck. And I said, hey, would you mind jumping on a call? Because I was like, great, because I just need help right now. And I said, hey, do you mind if we broadcast it right on Twitch? Do you mind if we just put it onto Twitch? And he said, yeah, absolutely. So we just did it. And so I thought it took like 2 or 3 hours. We worked through a series of things. Ultimately, did not fix the problem through any steps that we took. It boiled down to me not realizing, and this is a rookie mistake, and I'm full of them, me not realizing that a steel nozzle is going to require filament to run through at a different temperature because you've got to run it hotter. So I didn't know that. And I'm like, it's on the website. I'm like, there's a lot of things on the website. There's just certain things that you just can't get, apart from practical experience. So I thought that was a very good learning experience. It was a lot of fun. And so I wanted to do this again on the weekend, just a weekend day, Saturday or Sunday, before my regular Twitch time, which is just me, farting around. Tonight is cereal night for me. Papa Bear, you could bring your own cereal, but you got to bring your own.
I already had my cereal this morning.
Oh man, I did not. I've got like some
honey bunches of oats with almonds.
Yes, that was a good cereal. So anyway, I said, hey, Papa Bear, if you want to join, maybe we have this conversation. Because I'm full of questions that I don't have necessarily answers to. And they seem like routine questions. It's one of the reasons why I've been like inching very slowly into the realm of 3D printing. And I thought it would be somewhat useful to just, kind of ask questions and then take the conversation from there. And it seems that last week, a lot of people who jumped into chat were also like interested in the stuff that was happening. So Papa Bear has joined us in chat and on Twitch. He is at Papa Bear. Here, Papa Bear _AZ. And there's a shout out too. We'll probably have moderators join at some point in the incredibly near future too. Well, you're a moderator actually in my Twitch
it's a
channel.
Start,
yeah. So you brought your tiny hands here. I have my own
tiny hands. So when we need some tiny help for the nozzles and stuff.
Oh God, I would need that. I would need that.
Well, this is for nozzles, not for a Chris nozzle.
Wait, do you actually Do you actually use those to like change your nozzle?
No.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if they're silicone, they might work.
I'm asking because I genuinely, if you knew of a tip that I did not know of, like that, it's a good thing. Polymaker saying that I'm at the point of no return in the 3D printing world. You're probably not too far from the truth there.
There's no going back.
I know, but Papa Bear, you were like, okay, so everyone knows I've got a Prusa Mini. What are you rocking?
Me, I have, oh boy. I started off with a Prusa Mark 3S. Then a coworker had a Bear Prusa, which is a modded Prusa basically. They sold me because he wanted to buy a bunch of minis. And then I found a Prusa Mark III on Craigslist for somebody moving. So I bought that. $450 was a smoking deal, so I couldn't pass that up. And then I have like a CR10 Creality Pro, whatever the heck it is. And then I just recently built the Voron 2.4. Yes.
I'm the Voron moron. That's not my brand. I'm not going to like, I don't think I'm ever going to, seriously, like that is like, is that the one that you're worried about adhesion on right now?
Correct. Yeah.
So okay, so this leads to me my first question. So I had the same issue. I did not, my first layer, the adjustment, it was still too high. It printed fine, but I noticed that part of it was like lifting off. And so immediately I thought, okay, people have suggested a glue stick. So I just grabbed a regular old Elmer's glue stick, like, it like did up, I paused the print, peeled it back a little bit because I had a brim, and then put the glue stick down and kind of pushed it down. Originally, it didn't want to stick. I'm like, well, I'm hoping as the bed heats up again, it'll stick, and it did. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, almost like a miracle. So I mean, like, a glue stick became a part of my arsenal, and I've had this kind of thing happen before, where just part of a print will lift off. So people started recommending, and I think you were one of them, another product called Magigoo.
Magigoo, yes.
Okay, so what is okay? I have to ask, what would be the difference between just using the Elmer's glue stick, the simple glue stick, and a Magigoo? I mean, not just because of price. What would be the fundamental difference? Why would I want? These are genuine questions. I genuinely do not know.
There's nothing wrong with a glue stick. I mean, glue stick people have been using for a long time. There's other options out there, and people have like invented stuff for, like, they have like this ABS goo, which is basically acetone and ABS melted up that they can slather on a bed for ABS prints to keep them from warping, because ABS is really bad about that. But Magigoo is more of a water-based product. I don't know. I've never really looked at the whole things, but like if I was to sum it up, basically it's just really liquid or watered down glue stick in a bottle, and it has
so it's
like
watered down. Okay.
Yeah, well, but it has. You ever use a Zorbine Junior or something for your aches and creaks?
Yeah, like a ball thing on
exactly.
the end.
Yeah. So this it has like a little valve on the top, and what it does is then you just basically put it upside down, and you kind of just put it on there, and you can kind of see. I don't know if that comes out a little. You can't really tell.
Not really. Yeah, but
no.
Okay. I mean, that at least okay. So that at least clarifies, because my glue stick was just like, this pasty stick, and I even had issues trying to get under where it needed to be without like lifting it too far off, right? And that's the sheet that I use too. I use a smooth PEI.
Yeah, this is exactly what it is. So you can see different areas where I've used it.
Yeah,
it's still on there, so it stays on until you wash it off.
Okay.
But when you put it on, I mean, it goes on kind of like a wet.
Yeah. Okay, that
and
that
then
I'm gonna
dries.
have to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get that then.
And the neat thing about it is, you any bubbles or whatever get completely wiped out when it does the first layer and stuff like that. So.
Does it do anything then if the nozzle hits it? I mean, I'd assume it would just melt away or burn away. Okay.
No, it kind of just purges it to the side. It just it liquefies under heat and just kind of gets smushed around.
See, that was the answer I wasn't getting. I'm like, yes, I get it's an adhesive, but what would be the difference? And now that clarifies it. And I think that would have possibly done. I mean, it did the job as I thought it would.
And you can see, and as the bed gets hotter, it dries more. But you can see just in normal air right now, it's kind of drying in the different areas.
Yeah.
So Stream, is that allowed? Yes, of course it is, dudes. Why not?
In fact, we've got you're streaming on the Maker Deck. This is the issue that you've got a corner.
I could have used this right now on that.
So you can't with the Voron. Can you pause the print and get in there and like, or not? Or is it you're just gonna kind of take it all the way through?
I'm gonna have to either, if that print still works, as long as the lifting doesn't cause nozzle conflicts. I can salvage it and still use it, but it's ASA, so it's a little bit different and it's more structurally sound. ASA. So if I try to lift it up and then put some glue underneath there, or try to dab some glue in there and try to push it down, I have a chance of popping the rest of the print off the plate.
Got it.
And that's
not gonna work. That's a risk.
Yeah.
Josh was asking, did they make a precise tip of Magigoo?
That would be a great question.
That would be a great product.
It would.
I think what you could probably do with this, if you really started to see early evidence of lifting, is you could probably pop this little insert off or something on it, and maybe get a Q-tip, and then just dab it where you need it, and then just like, you know how water runs around edges of stuff whenever you get it on something, this would be the same viscosity, I think, to be able to do that.
Okay.
I haven't tried it. I should have tried it earlier before this print got too jacked up.
So I know other people have recommended hairspray. In fact, Jay Brinker looks like he had a lifting issue with the BD1 print. I had an issue with some of Fix 'em Dude's models early on. Not so much. I haven't had it anymore. I attribute that to either a draft because I haven't had. It's like it's intermittent, right? that more so than the bed or anything like that. Hairspray is
Yep.
also recommended. I don't want to use hairspray though, because number one, it gets everywhere and then everything gets sticky. Do you need hairspray, Papa Bear?
I need a haircut or hairspray, one of the two.
Dude,
yes.
There's a reason I'm wearing my skull cap. Like, I need a haircut badly.
It's too hot for my head would be sweating if I was wearing one of those right now.
That's why I'm trying to keep the temperature cool in here. I'm trying. I'm doing my best.
Yeah, and to go back to what you were saying about lifting, like with a BD1 model, I printed one the other day, and this is a perfect example of lifting. If you look at the top part of the leg and the bottom part, you can see how the first one or the bottom one didn't lift and the top one did. So you can see the issues where it came off the bed, and then it's just like it still works from the outside, but from the other side, it's still messed up. So, but you know, and that's the whole idea behind the adhesives for beds, is to, you know, keep this stuff flat so it doesn't go anywhere. So.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, I switched from, you know, and I was having issues with the Ulti stick originally. And people were suggesting wash it, and I did, and I learned with the Ulti stick that you have to make that first layer squish just a little more squishy, I guess.
Get it in there, yep.
And I'm like, well, that again, these are things that you don't realize when you get this stuff and you start messing with it, because people say, oh, get it, get this, get that, and then you do, and you don't know why, right? So sometimes just learning why. I'm just glad I don't currently have a problem. I swapped the steel nozzle as soon as I could and went back to brass.
Yeah, and I was questioning that to myself last week, and I was just like, why is Chris using a Nozzle X? He doesn't print anything that's going to tear up his nozzle, and I'm like, he should really go back to brass. And I don't know if that was brought up in the course of the conversation and troubleshooting, but it was definitely something, because I didn't, you know, it's definitely like nozzle, hardened steel nozzles aren't as heat conductive as brass by any means.
Yeah.
So that's the point where you need to raise that temperature up, and depending on what you were printing, you probably need to take it up like 5 to 10 degrees higher than normal because of the heat transference issue.
And that's exactly where I ran into an issue, because there was like the filament was running hot anyway. So if I ran it too hot, it would clog, or it would come out with over extrusion. So it was like baffling to me. And I didn't have that. It's not like anyone should have told me this, but like when I'm like, okay, well, it's time to swap out the nozzle. Oh, get a Nozzle X. Oh, okay, sure. Okay, well, there you go. Well, it seems to be printing okay.
Yeah, and I have a Nozzle X. It's still in the box. I haven't even used it myself, because I haven't approached where I need like carbon fiber support or nylon or any of those kind of things like that. And I think to go back on the issues you had when you said you were raising the temperature up with Nozzle X, you're then pushing the thermal limits of the filament.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's going to start either crystallizing or getting to the point of almost burning to try to get it to extrude. Then you're going to have other issues where you're going to get serious heat creep up in the throat of the hot end. And that's just that then everything just goes to hell from there.
Right. And that's all that I was just trying to avoid. So I ultimately steered back to the brass. And Krusty, see, these are the things. Krusty sent me a tool. It looks like a wheel with a little that you can. It's more easy to put the brass
for the
nozzle on. Yeah, for the nozzle.
Those are nice.
Dude, and like these are things like if I did not know, like no one tells you this stuff. No one, you just find out. Like it's okay.
What we call in, like, at least in the tech industry, tribal knowledge.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of that with 3D printing, almost too much, to the point where it's very it's not frustrating, but it's hard to get someone on board with it, because there's just so much to consider. And I know that it's baby steps, it's a little bit at a time, but it's like there's so many tips that and suggestions that when people make recommendations, I wish they would come with caveats, right? Caveats. Oh, if you do this, then you also need to do this. It's like, as opposed to get this. Oh, okay, why did I get it? Why am I replacing it? Is this better?
Well,
Well, and I think, it's hard to say why somebody might have suggested it or why you got pointed in that direction. And it could have been just, in the idea of trying to give you the best option for the future, where you were going to probably use the capabilities of that nozzle,
Right.
and ultimately you haven't. And then finally the issue of using it became evident with the problem you had. And then you just go back, and then if everything seems okay, then you're good to go.
Well, see, that's what was confusing, is everything was okay until it wasn't. And that was what was stymieing.
But you said you changed filaments though too, right? It was a different filament in there. Yeah.
And that's what was throwing me off. I'm like, but I printed with this before. Everything was fine before. Why is it not fine now?
Sometimes batches of filament are going to vary though. So there could have been something, there could have been a bad lot with that filament, or it could have been, had some minor variance issues with it. It's hard to say. But,
well, I tell you what, my Papa Bear coaster, the Locker Gnome Papa Bear coaster, turned out perfect. Papa Bear uses Tinkercad. He's a tinkerer in Tinkercad. Yeah.
Tinkerer, and I'm learning Fusion 360.
Oh, so
that makes my brain hurt.
well, Tinkercad makes my brain hurt. I mean, more power to you for getting through it. Like, I know it's a good starting point. It's just a lot of that software. I'm like, I know I could use it. I know it's important, but like, to do things, even as deceptively simple as this is, right? There's just certain steps. It's almost like Photoshop, right? It's all you need is Photoshop. I'm like, Photoshop is overwhelming to me. I don't use Photoshop for a reason. It's way too overwhelming.
Photoshop. I a lot of the stuff that I do like when I do 2-dimensional and then extrude things, I do almost all of it in Photoshop, because I can lay it out in 2-dimension as I want it to look.
Yeah.
And then I export it, and then actually what I do is I then take it to Illustrator, convert it into an SVG, and then export the SVG out into Tinkercad, and then I kind of just do what I want from there.
So let me go here. One of the reasons I wanted to do these types of shows before my evening fart around casts, for the lack of a better word, is really just answer questions. And Daily Pone saying, I can't figure out 3D modeling tinkering for the life of me. So do you have any? I mean, Tinkercad is probably the seemingly best starting point, because it's accessible. I mean, teachers use it in grade school. What are, for someone who might be interested, what are some good starting points in Tinkercad that you might suggest?
Well, let's start from the beginning. Tinkercad is free. You can't beat that. It is used in schools. My daughter has even used it in some of her 3D design and modeling classes they offer her in her middle school.
Right.
Which I was amazed that they offered that. And when she says, "Can you look at this in Tinkercad for me? I have an assignment from school." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, that's awesome. So sat down and I went through it with Tinkercad with her and showed her some stuff that she could learn and take back to school, maybe teach the teacher.
So I mean, go ahead, keep going.
So on that, starting off with Tinkercad it's very simple. You load up, you create an account. You can log in with your Google if you have a Google account. You can go in. They give you tons of basic shapes you can work with. Just drag it on, put it on there, and play with it. I mean, Tinkercad, you're kind of just limited to your imagination of what you want to do with it, because they give you a buttload of source models already to drag and drop. You can make them taller, make them shorter, make them wider, longer, whatever you want to do. It's pretty amazing.
So
and
the only thing I've done in Tinkercad really is draw. Like, you can do the doodle. You can actually so I've had Jedi, right? You draw something and then print, and then we can print it out. But I have to explain to her, because of how it's done. I have to figure out again how to make things work maybe a little better than the way they do. But when she's drawing something, all the little pieces have to be interconnected with each other, because the way it prints.
It doesn't hurt. I mean, there can still be gaps on it, but if you're going to make a 2-dimensional or a 3-dimensional from a 2-dimensional, it's going to be more of your extrusion that you're more worried about than the gaps, because you can print, like I don't
Well,
know.
I figured there's got to be a way to like use whatever was drawn as like a stamp, so you can take like a circular object and then, that drawing basically cut out the drawing like a mask, and
Mhm.
then this is your object. I assume there's a way to do that
Oh
somehow, and
yeah, you
I
could do
haven't.
that. Yeah, what you could do. Well, then that's how like I made these little items right here.
Right.
Is basically these were two-dimensional item or images that I made in in Photoshop, and then exported them into Illustrator and then into Tinkercad, and then to cut out the insides where I put in the other colors, because this is an MMU print. So what I ended up doing was notching these out or making copies of these and then changing them into null objects. Then what you can do is you can drop the null object in.
No objects. I got to remember that.
Yeah, and then it basically, then when you put it in where you want it to do it, then it's like carving out essentially where those are going to be. So
No, I got to remember that. No objects.
it's like I don't have Tinkercad open right now.
It's okay.
But I'd be more than happy to do a
Yeah.
Oh, I do Tinkercad all the time, and I'm
Yeah.
more than happy to show anybody that wants to come by and has questions. I'm more than happy to help, and I think I've conveyed some of my knowledge with what I know so far. I mean, I'm always still learning things, and I learned an easy way to duplicate items without having to go Control C, Control V. You can just hold hold Shift and Alt, drag an item in either axes, and it duplicates it automatically for you. And I was just like, wow, this is cool. And I've been using Tinkercad for like 2 years. I didn't even know that. And I found it out just by a fluke.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's really amazing when you find stuff like that.
Well,
Mighty Bean, have fun.
It's accessible, that's for sure. Yeah, he's got to go work on his deck. He's working on Deck Maker over there.
He's working on like decksonly.com or something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's the arch nemesis of Maker Deck. It's Deck Maker, and Pine Liz hangs out there. Rusty 3D. It's just. Did you see that? Okay.
Oh yeah, it was
parody.
Hilarious.
It was funny stuff.
I do want to go back. Big Jano mentioned that he learned SolidWorks, and there is, I mean, definitely there is better things out there than Tinkercad. I mean, but SolidWorks, unless you have either an educational or a business you use it from, it's expensive. The same as like with Fusion 360. If you buy a regular license, it gets expensive. But those are great products, but not everybody has access to them. So
right.
Yeah, like exactly like you said, that it would cost, a professional world, it could cost up to $10,000. And that to me stymies the creativity of the makerspace by making those tools so expensive that they're prohibitive of people to want to buy and get them.
Yeah, that's kind of what's to me kind of I guess if I could use it in a word, amazing about something like Tinkercad is that it is accessible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could use it. And I know if Jedi hasn't quite gotten to the point where she's trying to figure out how to do something, but like sometimes I want to be able to encourage her to express herself at least through that software, and then at the end of the day, instead of just having this digital picture, to actually have a physical item come from it. So I'm hoping to for those kinds of opportunities, and Tinkercad certainly makes it accessible.
Yep. And like my daughter, I've encouraged my daughter to do artwork over the years, bought her all the stuff that she needs to do it, and like she does like anime inspired artwork like this. And
did she draw you? Hang on, is that you in the background? Did she also draw you?
Oh, this one right up here?
Yeah. What is that? Yeah.
No, that actually is a piece of artwork, like fan art essentially, that somebody sent me like a couple years ago.
Oh wow.
That they were doing on stream. So basically it's ink and watercolor.
Oh cool.
And then the viewer said, "Can I send you something?" I'm like, it's not gonna blow up, is it?
Yeah, I know.
And she says, no, it'll be fine. I'm like, okay, I'm trusting you. Yeah. And I opened that up, and I was amazed. It actually brought a tear to my eye that somebody had actually done that.
It's pretty cool.
And sent it to me because I at that time, 2 years ago, streaming. I'm
I'm nobody to a lot of the world. I mean, nobody
I'm
knows
nobody.
who I
We're all
am.
half of us are nobodies to the entire. Like, do you think we're Johnny Depp, like walking around, sitting around here? Nah.
Yeah. So no, but
That's pretty cool.
that
That's cool.
was an awesome thing to get. And
Yeah.
you know, my family has supported what I do. They've got me the artwork. They've got me the
Nice.
signs of stuff, and we've
That's
kind of
cool.
gone with the bear theme over the years.
All right.
And I've done some brand changing, and you know, we've gone from Papa Bear to Joe's Hangout, and then back to Papa Bear because that's what everybody knows.
Everyone
me
knew you as, yeah.
exactly. And you know, it took a hit for that, but you know, we came back, and
It's okay.
yeah.
I've been through similar exercises. By the way, Brit's in here as well. Quite a few people. And Brit saying, what am I doing here like this early? I did this last week when I was running into a printer problem and just trying to talk through, you know, other problems, questions, solutions in and around the world of 3D printing. I'm very blessed in the sense that I don't have a problem this week. I'm thrilled with not having a problem this week. And thank you, by the way, for the cheers, Joshua and Photismint. Photismint's happy to watch me because normally he can't because, you know, different parts of the globe. So, you know, I guess doing this is not a bad idea. Thank you, Subsector, also for the support. How's your print looking there, Papa Bear?
Fortunately, I'll be able to use it, I think, and
okay.
It'll, because the outside is the part that's going to be facing up still, so I'll just the other side will be facing inward, so I don't care.
I got another question for you, and maybe this is even a question potentially of your subsector. So I'm in the process of printing right now Jawas, like little Jawa figures. And exactly, they just got released from Play Action Toys, and I was trying to get the little eyes. And so what I did was effectively paint, or not paint, but you can see, actually, can you see the little dots in there? I took a marker, like I just went dap dap and did a little marker, boop boop boop, just very, very simple. But like I couldn't get it was a big marker, and I accidentally got the sides. How do I get marker off? How can I take something off of certain parts of a print easily with precision?
There's a couple of ways. What kind of marker for one?
Oh, this is a Sharpie.
A Sharpie, you could probably honestly just take a cloth and rub it until it comes off.
I tried, yeah, and I even did like a high grit sandpaper and then a file to try to get some of it off, and it wasn't as effective. I almost need like a precision. Subsector says marker's hard to remove. Dang it.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I haven't done it myself, but like for me, I have a whole bunch of different files that I use. I know sandpaper would work, but if you want something more precise,
see, I almost need like a little, like, you know, like just a bare, because I was trying to like file, yeah, like those. I've got those, and I was trying to get in there. It's just such a small area that I just went. It wasn't perfect. Blowtorch. You don't want to. I've done fire. Here's how I used to do that. Remember how like I used to light to, and sometimes I will to get a piece to go in. But now when it comes like to all the stringing, what I'll do is I'll just turn on the oven, or not the oven. I'll go to the stove, go click click click, and then just
Let's fix it for you, Chris. Let's do it.
Right so now. I know. Yeah, that's and I need some creme brulee as well. It's just as easy to basically hold it over the open flame for a couple seconds. I'm like, okay, it's good. No, not gonna worry. So I was curious. I didn't know if there's any better tool to use than the ones that I have. Dry erase works better. Yeah, but I don't know if dry erase necessarily. It needed to be bright on top of dark. So it needed to be the metallic. You can barely see it, but yeah, it needed to be the metallic kind of color. Or I wanted a bright yellow, but
can you hold that up to the camera so I can see a little closer?
Yeah, it's hard. It's gonna be hard to.
Yeah. So okay, yeah. So what happened, I guess, is the edge of the
marker
hit the edge of the
yeah. So I was trying. I mean, ultimately the solution is find a finer marker point. I was just going for something. I'm like, well, how can I effectively? I even got a magic eraser thing, but I didn't know if there's like a magic gloop or whatever it is solution that I was missing that someone might recommend. So I'm like all about like trying to find those solutions. Oh, you got. See, that's more than I have. I don't paint.
I plan to. I haven't done a whole lot yet, but I think what you could do is you can get like a little bit of enamel paint, and if you had a steady hand, just use like one of these kind of tips.
Yeah.
and then just put it right
that
in
would
there.
work. If I was
and
gonna,
just
yeah,
load it up and just dab it in there.
Yeah, that's, if I had paint, I probably would have done that. I may find, but I like markers work because they're mess free. So I'm probably going to go with, as Joshua suggests, ultra fine tip pins. That's an idea.
They do make fine tip like
metallic.
You obviously aren't going to be like, hey, let's use a pin like this.
No, that would have been like a fine tip
like a
metallic
0.5 millimeter. Yep, exactly. I had some of those.
Well, it needs to be metallic or something like a milkier kind of paint or marker, because a lot of, I'm applying to PLA, and it needs, and sometimes that PLA is dark, like the Jawa, it's like straight black. Ultimately this worked, and if I had a steadier hand, it would be a little easier, or if I held it in a more steady capacity, but it's just, the point was just too big, I guess, or the marker part was just too big. It needed to be more precise.
Yeah, and a paint pen, if a paint pen has a really fine tip, would probably work really good. The only other drawback too about painting sometimes is that the paint will usually, it's like this liquid, I can't, like what is it, just like liquid dynamics, I can't think of the right word, but how water will run along the trace of something. Because I've done it where I've like gone to paint things, and I put a piece of paint or something on there, or apply it, and it runs down the seam of the print, and I'm like, whoa, no. And I've had it run like 2 or 3 inches around the side of a print, and I'm like, crap, I don't want it to do that.
Too liquidy.
Well, exactly. And sometimes you either got to mask it off, but the problem is even the masking tape, laminar flow, there you go, is that. So it's like, it's like,
that's one of the reasons I don't mess with a lot of that stuff. I know, people do very well with it. It's just typically for me, when it comes to printing, I usually just do one color per whatever. But I decided that with like these Jawa, whatever the plural of Jawas, I decided to Jawa, much like a Mogwai, right? I decided to just go, I'm just gonna go black, and I'm gonna be printing another. I've got to print their bandoliers in black as well. But I thought, well, maybe you had an idea, or somebody else had an idea. Sharpie makes an ultra fine point metallic. Ooh, just silver, C. Travis, or other as well? Because I'm gonna have to look into that. Go ahead, Papa Bear.
Go search it out on Staples and find what you're looking for there.
I usually go Amazon, Staples, any one of those places.
I think part of it too, like watching Ethan's dad paint Stitch right now is really cool.
Right, yeah.
But the thing I think to eliminate the laminar flow that like Jano had mentioned would be to paint things with a base coat. Then that kind of, the paint will adhere more to the base coat as opposed to running around the print or down a layer line. And that way you get a little bit cleaner. But I think, if you can get the metallic pin, to do the little place that you want to do,
I'm pretty
without
sure
the mess of the paint, that's probably going to be your best option.
I'm more than confident my solution is the finer pen, if only because it's just paint can get, that's it's a completely different scenario. Fine tip, I think, is ultimately what what I might go with. Not that I'm using it all that much. I don't really use them all that much. It's just in this sense, I'm like, oh yeah, this would be something that I could do for Jawas. I think if I had the finer tip, that it looks like that's a Sharpie oil-based paint marker. Fine tip.
That looks like that would work just fine to me.
Yeah. Well, that would work. I would just need it to be gold, right? Just having for highlights. Gold would have worked for you got to buy them separately. But see, but the thing is, I don't do this all that often. So like, what's the idea of quote unquote investing in brushes and paints? I'm like, if it's not happening frequently, like I don't want to go the extra step, as opposed to, let's say, the Magic Goo, right? Where I know I'm going to run into issues. Generally, I haven't needed to use anything like that beyond the regular adhesive that's on the sheet. Is it a sheet? Is that the right? Is that the technical term?
Yeah. A build sheet, print sheet, print, whatever. It's not the bed, right? But it's a sheet on the bed.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well.
Yeah, I mean, that Magic Goo, it's like $15, and I've used this bottle a lot, and I've only gotten down to like right here.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Oh yeah, and I've used it a lot. So this it goes a long way, and I think it's like $15 or $16 on Amazon.
Yeah,
so
I saw it. I've got it.
Worth it.
I've got it in my cart, but before I actually clicked to purchase, I'm like, well, I'm going to be talking to you today, so I thought, well, I'm going to wait and ask and find out one way or another whether or not
Papa Bear tested and approved.
Well, you certainly had suggested it, and others had it as well. So I was like, okay, I'd be remiss if I did not look at that as a solution. And
you don't have to apply it multiple times, only on spots where it's kind of worn off, because it will stay on the bed as well. So it's pretty cool.
So wait, does it really only work with, primarily just one print, or do you have to like reuse it then?
You can reuse it on there until you feel you need it again.
Okay.
Usually I haven't, like this one sheet, I haven't applied it back on here in a while. I mean, because I've got, and you can kind of see, I don't know if you want to
hang on.
You can see where the circle, I printed something off this morning, where the lines are, where it's not 100% covering where I printed. So and I mean, you can kind of estimate too when you place your print in your slicer,
right,
you
where
can
it's
kind of
just
say, okay, yeah, so you don't have to cover the whole sheet. I did that with some stuff because I was printing a dragon on this, so I kind of went to the full boundary, but you can kind of see where it isn't there anymore and where it is, according to like the shininess or the dullness of the sheet.
So am I really the only one who has yet to print the dragon or a dragon?
Have you got the model at all?
I've got a model. I bought one model. I'm like, and then I never got to it. Honestly,
I mean, everybody's printing them. I sell them on Etsy when people are interested.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There's so many people out there selling them now. It's just,
right.
They're all over the place. So
I think it's one. I have one and done, and then I got lucky. It's a few have been sent, so it's like, all right, well, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, like I did this one in the MMU where I did.
Oh wow!
Black on the bottom and then just red, and this is printed in PETG actually. So I just did a layer change.
Why do it in PETG?
Because I had extra filament sitting around. So it was just, and I didn't have a red that I wanted to use for it. So this was a nice red, and I figured it looked pretty good. So
I like, from the first time I was printing, Dues hasn't printed articulated nothing. I actually kind of like the flexi kind of idea, the flexi models. They were immediately interesting to me. But the dragon, because of its complexity, I'm just kind of worried about doing it and then like a failure happens. I'm like, and then I just feel bad,
It's what? It's just it's the same as printing anything. It's going to happen. Right. Either it's going to work or it's not. Right. Don't be afraid to do it. I mean, I did an all send on one, my first one, cleaned the bed really good, wiped it down with IPA, and printed it with no raft. And I said, YOLO, here we go.
See, I feel I would do it with a raft.
Don't do it with a raft if you can. Doing it with a raft, I did it and I regretted it because I was cleaning up the bottom of it for like 4 hours. It was so annoying. So maybe that was just my bad luck, but this is the first one I did on my CR10 with a psychedelic silk filament, and just right on a multi-stick sheet, just wiped down really clean, and I had no issues with it. So, and there is some very small details, but as long as the sheet is clean and everything can stick good, then you shouldn't have any kind of issues.
Well, Photos Mint is encouraging me too.
Shit happens, exactly.
Well, I know.
Here's the thing. Don't be apprehensive on it. You can always restart the print.
And once you see that it's starting to fail, just stop it so you don't waste filament.
Here's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the crate dragon. That's if someone does like a crate dragon that's optimized for the mini, then that's the dragon I'll probably print, a crate dragon, right? Because come on.
You got Photosmint in here. Maybe he'll hear you.
I'm putting it out to the universe. And y'all know my favorite mint. It used to be peppermint. I used to love peppermint. And then Photosmint came along, and I'm like, I like Photosmint. Photosmint is my favorite mint. Now.
That's good. That's a good point. Yeah.
It's my favorite mint.
I honestly, I have not tried any of his models yet. I need to try some, because some of the stuff that he does is pretty amazing.
It's kind of it is incredible that the amount of fans out there who do things and how skilled they are. But I'm honestly just blown away that anybody can use software to take an idea and transform it into something that other people can make. I think that is probably the most interesting thing for me. Yeah. Photosmint says, not my thing.
Well, but he also said before that, though, that he can make you a nice dragon statue. So he could probably make you a nice crate dragon head.
Oh, a crate dragon head.
It looks like it's coming up out of the sand or something. That'd be pretty cool.
I guess that's pretty. Yeah, I know Jedi would be very scared. She got scared away from the Mandalorian, like with that first episode of season 2. She was like, like it was too realistic. I'm like, no, it's movie magic, is what we said. It was movie magic.
Big Jano's got the next big seller here, an articulated Pirillo.
I don't even know what that would look like. What would that?
Would it be like maybe a stick figure, that would look like you with the hair?
But see, that would just look. I don't know. I don't know. What would I don't? I have. There's nothing about me that's iconic at all. By the way, Papa Bear, Daily Pone literally made his first 3D model, sliced it, and I'm printing it thanks to this stream. So you did that. Good job. Good afternoon, everyone.
GG. Yeah.
Good afternoon.
3D Medic Vince, howdy.
Hey, it's good to see you, Paul. Haven't seen you in ages. You're now a Twitch IRL streamer. You're not fishing. Is that where you IRL? That's interesting. That's awesome. Yeah, I stream every night on Twitch. I'm starting to go early, like one day on the weekend, just to kind of chat through 3D printing problems, answers, questions, solutions, the realm of what's on my radar or other people's radar, because it was kind of fun to do last weekend. Although I'm happier to do it this weekend because I can actually focus on Papa Bear rather than my problem. Or focus on the person I'm talking to or the people that I'm talking to versus my problem. So
you can focus on my problems.
Okay. Well, then, do we want to go that way?
No, not really.
So 3D printing knows me well. 5 points of articulation Pirillo, Photosmint, and stepping on Lego.
Sticking on Legos.
There you go. That's exactly the way it would be.
So let me ask you this, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay. What got you into 3D printing? I know that you said you got your printer as an evaluation unit, but what inspired you to want to get into printing? Because I don't know the backstory on that.
Oh, it was actually Twitch. It was actually when I interviewed Joel on a stream, like not unlike this, over a year ago. And he had stuff in his background. I'm like, that's kind of cool, but like, it's just so nerdy. I mean, I like nerds. I'm a nerd, a different kind of nerd, but it just seems so esoteric, right? And so I wasn't really inclined to like latch on and go, yeah, it'd be fine. And kind of, because I'm like, it seems messy. It seemed like it wasn't something that I could figure out. It seemed really challenging. And I realized everyone was saying, oh no, it's easy. I'm like, well, even now, as much as people say it's easy, I still run into issues that I'm just like, I'm stymied. I don't know what I've done wrong here. So with that, we took it. I've known Joel for ages, since before a lot of people knew him, and we took it to Twitter, and I got tagged in by a couple people at Prussia. And so then there was an opportunity to do or get a review unit of the. They asked like, what, for a review unit, which do you think would be better? the Mini or the Mark, I think it was the Mark 3S. And I looked, I'm like, I think the Mini. I mean, not just because of size, but it just seemed more accessible. It seemed more friendly. It seemed more starter. And indeed, it seemingly was. And I feel I made the right decision. So that's how it happened. And so I got the review unit. It gave me enough of a push to like, okay, I'm going to try it. Let's see what happens. And then it was just kind of like, that was it. So it was because of Twitch and because I talked to Joel and because Joel tagged me on a thread on, it's all Joel's fault, basically. So
you have him to blame for all your rabbit hole of going into 3D printing all the time now.
Kind of. And it's, I don't mind learning. Like if you, so Photospin's right. Nothing in this world is easy. True. I don't mind learning something new. It's the question of, and I think you framed this, someone framed this earlier. If you have a project to focus on, that will give you the skills that you need to develop to be able to finish the project. So I guess I haven't had an impetus to do one thing or another. So it's not been a priority. So, until then, I'm just taking other people's models and printing and sharing that stuff. So,
yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, because for me, 3D printing, I got into it about, when was it? Let's see, what year is it?
2022.
2020. So like about mid 2019, one of my coworkers had a FlashForge Pro, and he mentioned he hadn't been using it and he had to move it when he moved houses, and I'm like, I'll help you. I'll move it and I'll try it out. He goes, okay. So I went and picked it up and then tried it. And then I was just like, okay, this is a neat printer. It was a dual nozzle. It wasn't IDEX, but it had two nozzles that had to be calibrated the same, but you could feed two filaments. But, and I made some stuff with it. I'm like, this is cool. This is kind of neat. And I made a couple of things and I'm like, okay, this is cool, but I don't like it didn't seem reliable enough to me. And I'm like, you know what? And all it had was ABS, and I don't want to spend a lot of money on filament for somebody else's printer. So I used some of the ABS. I think I bought another spool of PLA, and I just had issues beyond galore. And I'm like, this is driving me bonkers. And then a coworker of mine had a Prusa Mark III, and he printed me off some retro computer stuff for my Amiga computer. And I was just like, oh, this is cool. I can do all kinds of neat things with this.
Retro, yes.
Yeah. So then I was like, I can make case parts. I can make, different mounts. And I was like, this is cool. So then with the print quality, I was like, this is amazing. This is better than what I'm getting off of that printer that my other friend let me borrow. So I ordered it. And I got the printer shortly before the pandemic went into effect. So it was perfect timing because I got it. There wasn't a delay.
You haven't been doing it that long then.
I got into my first Prusa I got in 2020, January. I think I got here at the end of January in 2020. So I've been printing now for a little over 2 years.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, I'm with my own printers. I had kind of dabbled with it some for about 5 months before that, but I really just got into this right before the start of the pandemic.
Wow.
And
but that would be perfect timing, honestly, for getting started with it, like perfect timing.
It kept me sane because I couldn't go anywhere. I was afraid of COVID. I was working from home. I have all this around me because I work out of the same space that I have all my stuff in. This is my cave.
Yeah.
So it actually it kept me sane because I had time to do stuff since I couldn't go out and go, out because everybody, oh my God, Corona everywhere.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is that it gave me time to learn, to read, to study, to hang out with other people and learn more about it and read a lot about it and understand it. And then when I got the Prusa, I got the kit. I put it all together from the ground up. It took me like 2 days to build it. And I think I actually streamed the initial 12 hours of one day doing it. And talk about, how you do the troubleshooting stream sometimes where everybody's like, no, do this, do that.
Yeah.
I was getting that. And then when I would do something wrong, like put a belt or something before something else because I assumed it didn't read the manual.
Right.
People be like, Keck W, rip. And I'm like,
no.
so frustrating. So I'm just like, you know what? I finished it off stream and then came back and started printing. But and I hadn't really, you know, done a lot of content around printing up until just recently. You know, when I had seen you around before doing some printing, but I never really came around a lot. I was like, okay, cool, he's printing Star Wars, and I'd move on because I was more into gaming streaming at the time when I got my printer. So then keep doing that, and then as I started, you know, getting more into the printers, then I got the second Prusa, then I got the third Prusa, then I got the CR10.
See,
I got the resin printer, and I'm like,
oh y'all. Oh y'all, see, nah, you know, I'm fine with one right now. I'm fine with, I'm not just saying that, like genuinely. What would I do with something? When have you ever seen me print something like abnormally large? I did the Gonk, like the Gonk droid, like pencil holder, like the desktop. That was probably the largest thing in recent memory that I've done. Like I don't do.
The biggest thing that I did, let me go find my Instagram because I have an Instagram photo of my very first big project that I did. Let's see. And I'm still proud of it. And I need to make another one because I made this for a friend and gave it to him as a gift. Let's see here. I think this is, let's see, copy link. So let's see here.
See, this is the beauty of having MakerDeck up. Like it gives everybody something to look at, right? And watch during these conversations. And by the way, oh, there's the link. Thank you. You want to learn my birthday? July 26th.
It'll be July babies.
Yeah, wait, are how close are we? We probably talked about this before.
We're at opposite ends of the month. I'm July 1st.
I'm definitely I'm a Leo. I'm definitely not Cancer. Oh. I'm a Leo. I'm on the cusp. And I am definitely a Leo. So July 26th is, and I'll be you got, oh, hang on. The Evo Robotnik, who just started following here today, says you got my birthday. Wait, which one? The first or
July
the 26th?
Awesome. There you go.
Oh wow, yeah. July.
Oh, look at that Daily Pawn. I got one too. Or no, the first. Or December. Never mind.
Oh, December. Yeah, another first. Yeah. That's close. 6 months apart. You know, or however many, 5, 6 months, whatever it is. Yeah. No, I don't even know what I'm going to be doing on my birthday. I mean, apart from streaming, that'll be a given. I just don't know. I know some people do blowouts for their birthdays. I'm like, I don't want to stress out. Like on my birthday, I want the opposite of stressing out. So yeah, I don't know what that's going to be yet. I don't know.
I haven't decided. I'm taking it off from work though. I'm taking 2 weeks off.
Smart.
Around my birthday and turning off the phone.
Smart.
Yeah. Smart. Like my time.
Very smart.
Yep. So let's see here.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you got anything else, because I like I said, I was just hoping to just kind of jump on and chat through a couple things and talk and see where it went and hang out and talk to people I don't normally get to talk to because normally I'm streaming in the evening. I'll still be streaming tonight. When's your next stream?
Good question. I'm not doing it tomorrow. Tomorrow's Mother's Day. Probably Monday morning, like usual. You know, because with my work, I work 12-hour shifts, so it's like I'm on lunch right now.
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't be taking away your lunch.
It's fine. I'm working from home and it's quiet today, which is good. But usually I stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on my short work weeks, and then my long work weeks I usually do just Mondays and Tuesdays. I'm gonna try to throw Sunday in the mix, but I guess we'll spend time with the family still. So
that's smart.
Well,
there's another shout out.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, not a problem. Hang on. Thank you for the. Did Ethan's dad? Ethan's dad just poured in here. Yeah. I didn't realize. Okay, thank you. And Ethan, we've been watching Marcus. That's Ethan's dad, 3D painting the Stitch. That's awesome.
Oh, I know what I was going to say that I completely forgot. Going back on the idea of printing and stuff like that, is that it's been a lot of you guys initially that have been printing a lot that kind of inspired me to do more 3D making and creating streaming streams than doing gaming, because it's my thought on it is anybody can play a game, but if you're making something and being creative and unique, that's, to me, that's more appealing. And that's why I started doing more of the maker streams and stuff like that.
That's smart.
So,
yeah, I fell in. I was doing the chatty thing anyway, but and so the 3D printing for me has never been a focus. Honestly, I don't focus on 3D printing. I focus on chatting. Right? It's just that one of the reasons, again, why I wanted to kind of carve out these kind of conversations is it gives me a chance to talk to people I don't normally talk to, because it's the middle of the day. It's on the weekend. Things are usually kind of chill, and it gives me a focus, or at least a focal part of a conversation to talk around. Not like a produced show, but just more like a, hey, this is what's going on with 3D printing. Here are problems that I ran into. Here are questions that I have.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. Exactly.
I'm just very glad it was a very light week for me. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Yeah, this is my short work week, so it hasn't been too bad. But when I work 4 days at 12-hour days, man, I am burnt at the end of that week. I'm like,
yeah, definitely not a focus printer, Big Jano. More of the focus, like as in, you got to be careful throwing that word around. Some words they've got double meaning here, so.
Focus, damn it, focus.
I try, I do, but inevitably, no. I gave my focus to a neighbor. I don't know if he's used it, but I think that given that I don't do a lot of reviews, and I don't know if I want to. I know other people do, but it's not as much my thing. And a lot of the review companies, not review companies, 3D printer companies want you to actually do a video. I'm like, well, I don't really do that. I do live streams, and if you're interested, sure, we can talk. But and then what am I gonna do with it afterwards? Like, what is it? I typically don't like messing around with too many of the giveaway things, because I just don't know what I would do. I don't collect hardware. That's the problem. So.
Yeah. Well, it's a matter of space. And I mean, part of the thing, and I don't want to, put anybody on the spot, but when you do reviews or even just evaluations or tests, let's take, for example, when Uncle Jesse had done the Anchor print testing.
Yeah.
But then Anchor had taken that and interpreted that as an endorsement and a review of their product. So I think there was a communication disconnect on that.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was really clear. They did walk back their statement and say that this was not a review. This was just an evaluation or a testing of the printer, just to see how it does. So that's where there needs to be a clear delineation between trying it out and reviewing it if you decide to do that. So then you don't get stuck in that conundrum of I don't know, I'm Chris Pirillo, I approve this printer and blah, blah, blah.
Right. Yeah.
When you probably really don't want to. Like, they send it to you to test out and try, but you didn't did you really do a full review?
That's the thing. It's because I've never reviewed the Mini. I've just used it. And I know enough that I don't think I would do well with a Creality printer. I don't think I'd do well with an Ender. I don't think I would do well with I'm probably crossing brands and ticking people off, but I just know, I see it and I'm like, I don't think that's for me. I know me, and I know what I can do and what I want to do, and where I am. Like Voron, right? I'd never do a Voron. We got a Voxel Lab there. I don't even know what that is.
I was thinking like the Anycubic, whatever some of the old Anycubic ones, or A8s that would catch on fire or something,
See, I'm good. I am so good. And by the way, I don't think it escaped me. I saw Krillin said earlier, he loves MakerDeck, helped me make a new online friend today. That's kind of the idea. And Photosmith,
awesome.
I appreciate you saying that. It's the best thing you've seen happening in 2022, most community driven thing for sure. That it means a lot to us. You know, and I thank not just the moderators who've been there in the back channel listening to a lot of stuff, but certainly Liz and I know have been doing a lot of heavy lifting just to make sure administratively that it sings. And then Kieran Clark on the other side of the world, making sure that when Liz and I are asleep, someone else is able to watch. So everybody who's been a part of it, and helping with it, it's good that it's been as warmly received. So happy to finally I'm happy to have something to contribute back, you know, into the greater community, right? Just say, you know, like there's certain people like, oh, you do this and this person does this and that person does that and this person, that's the thing that, like, I don't just want to be, hey, I'm farting around with, you know, more figurines or, you know, whatever. But something that actually, it's something, right? It's something more than just me doing something. Being a part of something bigger than yourself is the definition of community. I've done presentations on community going back long, even before I knew Liz, like decades ago, like so long ago, I've been talking about community. And community is not about one person. It's about the relationships that you build and you take with you away from a channel, that feeling that you have. It's contributing or being a part of something bigger than yourself, and that has to apply to everybody. It's not one person. It's not around anything. So or any one person, right? So I'm glad. I'm glad. Gives me something to do too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I didn't have much spare cycles before, but now I have even fewer spare cycles.
No, and what you've done, you know, creating Maker Deck is awesome. I mean, it's brought a lot of people together and brought more exposure. The thing that I really like about it is when I see the tweets where some of the design or engineering students are having it up in their lab and they see it for inspiration.
God,
that is what really makes me happy, that it's actually reaching out to people like that.
You know, and I've been thinking about that too, because my background is education. I'm an English educator. Like, I'm a teacher by degree, and I never did it. But just to be able to have something that a teacher could use as a tool, as a device, as a way to, you know, teach, is pretty. Because I'm not going to write anything. Not at this point. Not so much anymore. Is that a tiny round of applause?
Tiny round of applause, yes.
But yeah, it's same thing. So I've been trying to find other STEM educators out there, and connect with them.
STEM education. Here's the thing. We're going to kind of go on a little tangent real quick. Is I think engineering and technical like jobs like designing, modeling, additive manufacturing, a lot of that people don't do it as much anymore these days. And what's happening is you're losing people in the engineering career space that are retiring and slowly going away. We need to educate and bring people up in the, you know, in current generation and younger generations to carry the torch for that. I mean, I personally wish that this technology was around 25 years ago to the degree where I would have known it, because I would have taken a totally different path in my life of what I've chosen to do. I mean, I don't have any regrets, but I enjoy this so much that it would have been, I should have done an engineering degree instead of, you know, information technology, in my opinion. But, you know, there's no regrets.
I don't have any regrets either, but my dad he never got into models. He never did building, anything like this. My mom might have been someone who would have been into it, but not having any of that exposure, I think, kind of limits what it is that you see is possible. So yeah, I tend to agree with that. I think 3D printing would have steered my course, because I would have been printing figures left and right. I would have figured out how could I sell these things. I mean, I'm not selling them. You know, I don't really sell these things. I can't.
Chris would be behind a pile of miniatures going, dude, I'm here somewhere.
No, dude, I just would not stop. I'd be like, oh, it's a little figure. Look at this little figure. Oh my God. I don't know. I've always been a fan of the figures. Got that one. The no support one.
Who made this one?
I'm not sure I remember who made that one.
Because I found it somewhere online. I didn't get a copy from somebody. It was like a free model somewhere, but I want to find out who designed it, because I want to find more of their stuff. But I'm going to paint this. I'm going to probably paint it on stream.
Nice.
This will be like my inauguration paint. But yeah, it's got the little
Mudhorn.
Mudhorn. That's it. I couldn't think of the name. But yeah, and this printed with no supports. Yeah, I mean, I was amazed that it did it along this part.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I did just the Mando without the stand, and it printed out just fine.
Yeah, neat. And that's the thing, you know, like I've shown some of my prints to my my daughter's 3D design print teacher, and she's just like, "That's amazing. How did you do this?" And it makes me feel like I want to be able to, if I have free time, go in and volunteer at some of the either the middle schools or the high schools and convey what I've been learning so far with them and pass on some knowledge that way to inspire other people to want to do this. You know,
Yeah.
it's just not to make trinkets or calibration cubes or whatever. This, you know, it can make functional design prints. It's like, even, I don't know if you saw it, Biden was working on an initiative for 3D printing manufacturing.
But Pooch actually quote tweeted that he's having issues with I don't know what it is, but he's been running into issues where he can't get insurance because the way that 3D printing is couched in terms of what can and cannot be covered. I'm not as familiar with it, but you may want to see what he said about. I mean, it's good in the sense that encouraging and getting funding, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Talking about insurance for like coverage, like in case of accident. Oh,
his print farm.
Okay.
Because he's got a whole business around this stuff, so he would be kind of in the crosshairs of what that type of initiative, I'd imagine, would enable. And he's all for it. Like, he's like, but you know, you've got to catch up the rest of the industry, I think, is what the bottom line was.
I mean, I don't know all the reasoning behind it, but I mean, if there's enough safety protocols in place for his print farm where he has mainly for fire protection and all that other stuff, then I don't see what the issue would be, because it's no different than any other place that might do like injection molding or whatever like that. Because injection molding machines, I've worked in plastic factories in the past where some of those machines just completely melt down and catch fire. I mean, but there's no really to earmark it as a new technology or something that might not be insurable. That seems kind of bogus to me.
Yeah,
I don't know the circumstances. I'll have to go read his post on it, but that seems a little outrageous that you can't, you know, do that. It's not like he's using laser beams and stuff like that.
Right.
I mean, if it's just additive 3D printing, there's no inherent danger. They don't burst into flames arbitrarily unless you are doing something unsafe with them.
So actually, speaking of bursting into flames arbitrarily, thank you. It wasn't a problem, but this is another thing I ran into this week, and I mentioned it to Krusty, but it happened the first time I changed the nozzle. Now, on the instructions for the Mini, it says heat up the nozzle to 280. It says go to 280. On the page, I swear to God, it says go to 280. This outrageous number, right? And I'm like, that seems really hot, but I'm like, okay,
280. What the heck was that,
dude? Look, Prusa change nozzle. Prusa Mini. Give me a second. Wow. Look. Yes. Preheat the nozzle to 280 degrees. It's right there, dude. Dang. Here, look. I'm pasting it in chat. Look, you see it right there. It says 280, and I'm like, that just seems like outrageously hot. So do they have that page wrong, or like preheat your nozzle to 675? Yeah, because I'm like, this seems really hot. So the first time I did this, when I swapped out the brass for the steel, I did this, and what happened after like 5 minutes at 280 is the printer reset itself and then went because of the thermistor says, dude, heat, you know, is like out of control. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I hit reset and I continue with the nozzle replacement. Didn't think anything of it. I'm like, that was kind of weird. And then when I replaced the nozzle again, it did the same thing. And so when I did the replacement, or when I took the nozzle off to clean it with Astro printer last weekend, he says, preheat your nozzle to 230. Just do it to 230. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, 230. And I did 230 and it was fine. It was just as fine as the 286, whatever it is, 280, 281, whatever it takes. But is that wrong? Is 280 too hot?
That's what they got on the printer. I've never done it that high. I've usually done it to the temperature of like 230, like the hottest that I've ever printed.
That's
but
what
280
I thought.
is like, wow. This is funny. Preheat your nozzle to 675.
That's what I'm saying.
and
Yeah. It's just like, seriously.
why not?
Okay. So here's the thing. I mean, I'm pretty much stock on the Prusa Mini. I have a feeling that to replace like the hot end to like an E3D Revo, it would be like one of those things where I would have to know someone, and it would be like a weekend project that because I'm like, there's no way in hell I can handle this alone. I just know how I can screw things up easily by either following directions as they're written with concentric nuts, or like just trying to read it to the letter, like making sure I'm doing it right. So yeah, it says, is that right? Is 280 right?
That's what I see on their page. I mean, there's no reason to not believe it, but
now that I've done it twice, it forces the printer to reset. So now you've got me wondering if it's a typo. If it's too hot.
Well, let's see. Is there? There's
in both instances, it's overheated and it's reset itself for safety. In both cases that I've changed the nozzle and preheated to 280. So it doesn't make any. That does not. That's another. It wasn't a problem because I routed around it, or it was mostly I finished the nozzle swap out before then, but it just seems so incredibly hot.
Yeah, I'm reading, even checking the comments to see if anybody says anything about the temperature, but they don't.
It's like it constantly resets itself.
Yeah. I raise the nozzle temp to 280, hold the block with a wrench, unscrew the nozzle, Yeah. I don't see anybody questioning the temperature. That just seems like really high.
Maybe I should leave a comment.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't hurt. I mean, and then maybe they could answer definitively. I've never done it that high. I mean, like I said, I think the highest I've ever done my nozzle for changing is like 230, 240, if that. But it's definitely better than doing it cold, which you never want to do that.
Okay, I'm writing the comment right now. You sure you don't mean 230? Every time, in the cases where I've preheated to 280, the printer resets itself after a couple of minutes because it gets too hot and I get kicked into a red error screen.
Alert.
All right. I've submitted my comment. It is the most happens. In 9 hours. 6 days ago is the most recent comment. Shane even replied.
I saw his name in there.
Yeah. So maybe he'll see I'm like, preheat to 280. You sure you don't mean this? Like, all right. We have a question
2,800 degrees Kelvin or anything either.
Apparently, I don't know. So Ivo, one of our new followers here, and Ivo, by the way, make sure we're going to be rating MakerDeck here in a little bit. That's where we're popping into when I do these streams in the afternoon. Since I normally rate other streamers in my normal evening streams, it's a good way of getting attention to MakerDeck if many of y'all weren't aware of it. Heard through the grapevine, Prusa Slicer beating out Cura in terms of quality and more efficient print instructions. I have no experience with Cura. I've been Prusa pretty much day one.
I would say that's subjective depending on how well versed you are with either slicer. I've used Cura, I've used Prusa Slicer, and mainly I use Prusa Slicer because I own Prusa machines, and it's optimized for that. So, and it depends on what works best for you. Now, I saw the comment too that the Cura 5 beta is a big step forward, which is cool. Haven't seen it yet, but my feeling on this is use what works good for you. I mean, sometimes things in Cura might slice and work better than Prusa Slicer.
See, I would use Cura if only for tree supports, but at this point, I'll wait until the new version of Cura just to see, because I've been Prusa too. I'm like, well, what's if it works? Why try to fix what isn't broken? I'm not the kind of person to go around click. Let's change this. Let's change this. I it's stock. It's out of the box. It's like I don't even worry about it. So I just don't. I worry about that. I worry about it a lot. I've never messed with retraction settings ever in anything.
Yeah, and well, because most of the time they're by default in your printer profile that comes with Prusa Slicer, so you don't have to mess with it, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's and it's a matter of preference. I mean, there's Simplify 3D. I paid for that license before I knew what I was doing. I regret having done so, but I learned a lesson. There's Kira, which is free. There is Prusa Slicer, which is free. There is also Super Slicer out there, which is free. There is Idea Maker that is out there that is free, I think. They all, like, I sliced this model with Idea Maker that's on the Voron.
The one, the one Papa Bear's referring to is there on MakerDeck. It's the one that's printing the Voron 24 parts.
And
it's
like
right
lifting
next
off
to
the
us.
corners.
Right. Yeah. So.
Now, and I'm not going to fault Idea Maker that the slicing caused this print to fail, but I've sliced other things in Prusa that haven't done the same effect. So I don't know if it's something that might be, this is the first print I've done out of Idea Maker like this, and it looks good, but I'm just like,
minus the thing.
I don't know.
So
yeah, so I might just stick with Prusa Slicer because it's what I know and I know works.
And that's kind of where I feel. Maybe I'll try Kira though. I want to make sure we get a shout out. There's someone who just started following Laboratory 424. He's an inventor. He streams here on Twitch. I've caught a few of his streams. It's fun. His streams are like a total blast. He looks like he's in a lab, and he sits there in a lab coat, and he's got a robot that spits ping pong balls and an emoji wall. If he's here, if he's listening.
Is he like a long lost twin of Mighty Bean or something?
I don't know. But like it's every time I've had a chance to catch the stream, he's coding and program. It's a wild stream. Laboratory 424. I've stopped into his streams a few times when I've had a chance. Laboratory 424. Hi, it's nice to be able to talk to you and give you a shout out. So I stream every night. And then on the weekends, I'm starting to do these 3D printer focused streams. I'm talking with a buddy here, Papa Bear AZ. He also streams on Twitch. So there's Papa Bear. Here, let me get a shout out to Papa Bear. If I get this right. So he also streams on Twitch and does 3D printing stuff. And then right next to us, I spearhead a project called MakerDesk. If I can type that in correctly, MakerDesk. And basically, is that not working? Because I'm stupid. MakerDeck,
not desk.
MakerDeck.
You're not building.
Oh my god, I got the wrong
carpentry
thing.
Right now.
I was thinking deck. Oh my god, where did I get desk from? I've just embarrassed myself. Anyway, so laboratory. I wanted to point we're going to be rating over there anyway, but I wanted to point you in the direction of that because it's up to 10 people making at the same time. So the embedded stream over there is actually MakerDeck, not desk. Deck. MakerDeck. I need to be clear about that. My God, what an embarrassment. So anyway, that's laboratory. I want to make sure everyone knew.
Test Maker for the win.
My God.
So, see, Travis brought up that he's using Simplify 3D when I mentioned that as one of them. The only rub I have with Simplify 3D is they have not apparently released anything for a very long time. And then just the price of the product for the buy-in on it was, I think a lifetime license was like $150, but they haven't released anything new for it in quite some time. So it's just like one of those things. It's like, is it really worth it and up to date with what's going on? And that's my only problem with that. And I mean, when a new version comes out, will I try it? Sure. If a new version comes out ever and I need to pay for it to use the new version, unless they give me an upgrade for free.
Makes sense.
Since I've already spent a whole lot of money, would I really do it? Probably not, because there's other slicers out there that work just fine.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Let's see.
The only thing with Prusa, the interface on the Mac is a lot cleaner than Windows. I wish it had a different interface, maybe the same power, but like a different interface. That's my only wish. I mean, beyond tree supports, that would be nice to have, nice to play with.
I've never used tree supports, to be honest. Even in Kira, only like I use them on resin printing with lychee slicer or whatever the heck that is.
Yeah, I pretty much in Prusa is I've been like, it just keeps it clean, simple. I know it's there, it's out of the box. I mean, it's just, I'm not a tweaker. I'm not someone who wants to go in and modify and change, and then run into a problem, and then wonder, why do I have this problem, and how did I fit? Like, look at the problem I ran into with a simple steel nozzle. So like, if I can't even handle a nozzle change, I mean, I could. It's just, I knew that inevitably I would have been best served by just a straight up brass nozzle. So I'm back to brass, just the brass tacks.
And see, Travis, I'm not bagging on Simplify 3D. I just know that they've been very slow on getting updates out there, and what they've done. And you know, if it works, that's great. I mean, it's just one of those things. So
yeah, let me put it this way: I have not run into an issue with Prusa Slicer to the point where I'm like, I have to try something else. I have to find something else. I'm like, it's just been every bigger iteration. Like when they added snug supports, that helped a great deal. Kind of clean, you know, I didn't have to mess with supports as much. I mean, I still have a challenge sometimes with supports, but I'm still kind of learning my way through that.
The snug support option is really nice because you don't end up with them all over the place, and it only gets really close to where it needs to be, and then that's it. So those are really nice. Let's see here. There was something that you had going back to tech support stuff. You had brought up about your pipe cleaner for your gun barrel.
Right. I asked you. Well, yeah, I don't have any guns. But like when I was talking with Astra Printer, he had suggested something like that, but I didn't know if he was talking about something like that for cleaning out the hot end, the tube, right? That little tube thing. Because like I had filament buildup in there, and filament got in there, and I needed to clean it out somehow in an easy way. And ultimately, I think I got all of it out, or most of it out. Certainly, my printer are very clean and everything's stable. But I don't know. I didn't know if there's effectively a pipe cleaner tool, a most effective pipe cleaner tool for that.
Not really. I mean, because when we were talking about it, I don't know, you ever use like a bottle brush? Like to clean like baby bottles. You remember how you would stick it in one way and then the brushes would kind of fold up into one, and but when you pull it back out, the brushes would go the other way because there was enough space to do that. The problem is, I'm going to draw you a little picture here.
Okay.
Is that if you put in like
I'm a visual learner, by the way. I'm very like, it's hard for me to follow written directions. Like it's easier for me to follow video directions. So for some reason, even illustrations.
Let's say that's your hot end. Okay.
Yeah.
What would happen is that you push that brush down into the steel, chamber or whatever, but it was definitely a bigger diameter than 1.7 millimeters.
Right.
What happens is it goes one direction, and depending on how much those bristles compress, that could be a one-way push in there where you might not be able to pull it back out, depending on how close those bristles get pushed up against the inside of that. So you'd probably tug on it, and I don't know if it would score the inside since they're brass and the nozzle is steel.
Right.
But that's kind of like a one-way direction with that. So that's why I was saying be careful, because you didn't want to get that stuck in your hot end or in your heat break.
Yep.
The other thing, while thinking about it, is they do make cleaning filament as well that you can run through there.
Oh yeah, like a nylon.
Yeah, it's like a nylon cleaning filament. I've never used it myself.
I used it. I used it for cleaning out what I thought for clogs. But when I was having my issue with the steel nozzle, I used that, and it worked. The issue wasn't the nozzle. The issue was the filament being too hot at the temperature I needed to run it because of the steel nozzle. So it was it was like a perfect storm of too hot. And too hot, like it's like too hot, and like it has the tolerance. Different story, right?
Yeah,
like I don't typically go over 225 for my PLA for silks. Certainly, I'm doing this these Jawa. This is like a silk bronze finish.
One of the things too that actually is a really good, since you're a visual learner, if you go back to that link and look at what you had linked about changing the nozzle.
Nozzle, yeah.
The one diagram on the left is the one that you want to avoid happening, because what happens is if there's a gap between the heat break and the nozzle, the filament which is
We'll get
signified
it.
by the red.
Right.
That'll
we'll
build
go
up that gap in there.
Yep.
Well, it'll kind of go up and then it comes out of the top of the heat block and then it
Yeah.
seeps everywhere. I've had
Yeah.
that happen myself. So the nozzle does not always have to be 100% flush with the heat break.
No, I don't have it.
And-
There's like like maybe a half a millimeter or so.
Exactly.
Yeah. No,
there's just enough gap.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So once the heat break is in proper and then you tighten that nozzle up and snug it up, you should have that little tiny gap on the bottom side between the nozzle and the heat block.
Yeah, I noted that too.
If you don't, then you're probably going to have seepage like it shows in the diagram.
Yeah.
So that's another good indicator of how that works. So
I thought everything was fine except for, like I said, the 280 just seems way too hot.
I'm printing filament. I'm not melting steel here.
Dude, it's just it didn't make any sense. I mean, I'll get an answer. I don't know if I'll see an email response, but we'll see.
We'll see. Somebody will be like, what are you, some kind of printing critic?
God, definitely not. But I don't want to keep you too long. We're a little over 2:30. I want to wrap up. I want to try to watch Batman, the Batman before my stream tonight, because I'll be streaming.
You get farther than I did.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try.
I got halfway through it, and while it was neat, I was just like, okay, I'll try. And I think I've got like about an hour and a half left to watch it myself, and I haven't gotten any further. So
well, keep your fingers crossed for me then. That is
exactly.
That's what I am going for.
I'll be rooting for you, Chris. You can do it.
Thank you very much.
You can do it. Yeah.
Again, shout out. Sorry, every time I see the animated GIF of that now, every time someone says that, I remember the movie too.
I need the little hat. You can do it.
I don't have a hat like that. I'm going to get this right this time. We're going to be rating into Maker Deck. I think everyone is following me there anyway. So I'll be back again on this stream tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific, and then potentially next weekend doing another one of these kind of a conversation, talking with somebody about 3D printing questions and answers, problems and solutions. I think it's something that's just interesting to do. It brings in a different kind of people, because I don't normally talk about this kind of stuff as in depth as I can during my normal evening streams, which are just more messing around. So
I will say I've enjoyed being here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. No.
And it's you're doing a great job of Maker Deck. I'll just echo, I'm sure, what everybody else in chat will say. And chat, if you hear this, let's give Chris some love in chat. Show him some of your heart emotes, hugs, thumbs up, whatever, GGs, and tell him thank you for what he's done, because what he's done is pretty amazing.
But I'm not doing it. But I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Look. No, I'm not.
Who else would have done this?
All 10. Look, 10 people, including you. You're the ones doing it, not me. All I'm doing is trying to be a filter.
Who brought it all together? You did.
Okay. Yes, that an aggregator and like watching it and curating. Yes. But like I want to make sure that is just as reflected back. It's very much it's a two-way street. It's a very bilateral thing. So
I know we a lot of us, we talked about it on the back channels of what you wanted to do, and we gave you our input, but ultimately you combined it all together in this little ball and went, here we go. Here we got Maker Deck.
Right.
And people love it. It's been inspiration for some educators and students. It's an inspiration for other people in chat. It's been a great opportunity for people to make friends.
Yeah.
It's been a great opportunity for people to see my print fail. It's just like, rah, so overall it's great. It really is, and kudos to you. I appreciate it.
Nah, I appreciate everybody who's talked about it, honestly. Seriously, bringing people in.
Yes,
is
kudos to
deal,
everybody
dude.
That's participated to get the word out there, to make
it's
the logos, to see the swag on Fixin' Dude's printer.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I mean,
fun
and how long have we been at this? A month?
Not a month, not quite a month. I think 3 weeks.
It's amazing. It really is.
Well, it keeps me occupied. That's for sure.
This is true.
All right.
When do we? Lastly,
When do we get to see Jedi and
they're
the
still
family come
traveling.
back?
Hopefully soon.
Okay.
Hopefully very soon. I'm trying to get Diana nailed down in terms of when she's coming back. You know, I keep bothering her. I keep calling Diana. Gotta schedule it, dude. TikTok.
That's funny. TikTok. Yeah, no, because I was just curious because, you know, seeing Jedi come on stream, she's like a little ray of sunshine.
Random.
And she's so much energy. It's awesome.
She'll do it.
She's so cute.
I'm sure she misses it too.
Yeah.
You're on. You said you're back on Monday on your stream.
Monday at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
I might have a guest. I don't know yet for sure. So we don't know. I won't say who or what, but who knows? We'll
Fair
see.
enough. Yeah.
And then we'll kind of go from there. But Monday, I'll probably be doing some more Voron printing parts. I'll do some Tinkercad. I'm probably going to be printing some new dragons that are coming out.
Dragons,
things like that. So
all the dragons.
All the dragons. I got to get ready for like all the dragons with the Game of Thrones spinoff of the dragon thing.
Oh yeah.
Yep, got to get ready. Dragon eggs and everything.
That's coming. It is coming.
It is.
Well, I will see everybody later tonight at 6 o'clock. Papa Bear, thank you again for the conversation, hanging out.
Thank you.
This is just an experiment. It was just kind of like, give people a chance to kind of focus and talk. But we're raiding into MakerDeck because normally I wouldn't do that. We'd be raiding another creator later this evening. So here we go. See everybody on MakerDeck. It's open 24/7. And thank you again for your support.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
And it is